Hi, my name's Aaron Curry, and today I'm going to be showing you how to buy houses that quadruple your profits because they rent like hotcakes and they grab hold of an overlooked property trend. If you're only ever going to buy 8 to 10 houses, then you might as well buy the best ones. In fact, you not might as well, you must buy the best ones, the ones that are going to put the most money in your pocket and be the easiest to manage. Today's video is the fourth in a four-part series that shows you how to make 2021 the year when you build a financial fortress that protects you and your family for generations to come. In the first video, if you've not watched it, I showed you how to create a 1-3-5 plan to achieve your 2021 property goals. A 1-3-5 plan turns your dreams into a target you can see. You know that you can't hit a target that you can't see. You know that if you don't even have a target, you've no chance of hitting it, which is why it's critical that you create a crystal clear picture of what you want to achieve, a crystal clear picture that puts a smile on your face every time you look at it. And a 1-3-5 plan is much more powerful than writing down some goals or creating a clear picture of what you want to achieve. Why? Because it puts a plan in place as well to achieve your goals and some specific actions, step-by-step actions that you need to take. In other words, it gives you a simple blueprint to achieve your goals. Imagine if you could have a blueprint that takes you from wherever you are now to financial freedom or wherever you want to be. And the blueprint, you knew if you followed each step of that blueprint, it would get you to where you want to be. If you haven't watched video 1, go watch it now. It's somewhere around this video. Go click the link, watch it now. It teaches you how to create that blueprint. In the second video, I showed you the safest way to build a property portfolio in 2021. I showed you the extension of that blueprint, my safe, secure portfolio plan, and the 10 key areas you need to master to an 8, 9, or 10 out of 10 to achieve your property goals. The scary truth about these 10 areas is that if you've got just 1 or 2 of them missing, then I can virtually guarantee you that you won't achieve your property goals. That means if you've got the desire to change your life, you've got the time and the money to build a property portfolio, and you don't have the other 10 skills, the core skills, you're virtually guaranteed to fail. That's scary. You see, at the start of my property journey, I had these 3 things. I had the desire, I had the time, I had somebody else's money, and my first 10 houses were a disaster. It was only when I gained all 10 skills as well, I committed to mastery, gained those 10 skills, that my property portfolio gave me the passive income that I always wanted. So if you haven't watched the second video yet in this series, you need to pause this video right now and go watch it. Just click the link, maybe up to your right or somewhere around here. Go watch that second video. In the third video, I showed you how to choose the perfect property investment strategy for you. So not one size fits all, not just a random strategy, but based on your goals, your time, your money, your experience level, where you're starting from today. I showed you how to pick the right strategy for you. I showed you how to pick the perfect strategy for you and how to lock it in with laser focus so you can enjoy quick, successful results. You see, jumping from one exciting strategy to another will keep you busy, but it won't give you any meaningful results. You'll become a jack of all trades, a master of none. In fact, it leads to overwhelm and confusion because you know a bit of this one, a bit of this one, a bit of this one, taking loads of effort, getting no results. Which is why you need to know with rock solid confidence that you've chosen the perfect strategy for you. It is the perfect strategy for you, and you know how to deliver on it. And then you lock in with that laser focus until you achieve your goals. So if you haven't seen that third video, again, I suggest you pause this video and go watch it right now by clicking on the link that's somewhere around this video. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to buy the most profitable houses that will quadruple your profits because they rent like hotcakes and you grab hold of an overlooked property trend. This is a trend that I've been using for the last 2 decades for myself. It's been a trend that I've used to buy over 1,300 properties for our done for you clients where we invest on their behalf For the last decade, we've been doing that for them using this trend, using this stuff I'm going to teach you right now in this video. In addition to being more profitable, these houses are easier to manage because they attract better quality tenants. More profit, easier to manage. The simple truth is that if every time you advertise your property, you get 20 or more people wanting to book a viewing within 24 hours, then if the tenant stops paying the rent, you're not going to be tempted to let them off the hook because you don't want to go through the hassle of finding a new tenant. You're going to get it sorted, you're going to get it fixed, and you're going to get a new tenant. So before we dive into these golden rules to buy these amazingly profitable houses, what I call world-class properties, just let me explain why the video quality is not quite what I want it to be. My family and I are currently self-isolating. We've been in contact with someone who's tested positive for COVID. Now, thankfully, they're absolutely fine. And thankfully, we're absolutely fine. None of us have tested positive or anything. And we still need to self-isolate. So I can't work with a videographer like I'd like to and a planter. It's just me and my laptop and my webcam, okay? So if the information to you is more important than the video quality, then you'll love what I'm going to share in this video series. You see, I'm going to show you the safest way to build a property portfolio at the most profitable time in over a decade, so you can pick up discounts of £15,000, £20,000 or more off your next purchase. If that sounds exciting to you, let me show you what can happen if your only rule for a good discount is on the purchase. If that's your only rule, is I'm going to get some discount on purchase, let me show you what can happen. That was my only property success rule at the start of my journey before I learned lots more, and it led to some disasters. To better tell you about it, I'm going to cut to a previous training, me live on the way, live to a video. Let's cut to that now and I'll tell you all about it.
Now, when I started out investing in property, when I first started out, you can start out and you can have job strategies, which I talk about in video 3, or you can have investor strategies. And I jumped straight to being an investor. I was like, I'm going to be an investor. I was like, in fact, I don't even need to go look at these properties. I can go buy a property at an auction. I don't even need to look at the thing. If it's good numbers, it's all about the numbers. If it's good numbers, I'll be okay. And the difference, by the way, between what I call a home buyer and an investor is this. A home buyer, most people have only ever bought residential properties. You may be the same. When you're buying a residential property, it's a heart decision. You're thinking with a heart. You want to build a nest. You want your family to be safe. It's a heart decision. Once you become an investor, it should be all about the numbers. What discount am I going to get on this property? What's the cash flow going to be? What's the capital growth going to be? And what's the demand? How many people want to stay in my property? It's all about the numbers. So having a financial background, I was a financial manager at Marks & Spencer's, I thought, and I did mortgages now. I thought, you know what? I'm an investor. I know about numbers. How hard can this be? So back then, the second property I bought for myself was a property in a town or an area of Leeds. It was in Leeds, city of Leeds, but it was an area called Chapeltown, okay? And this property was up for sale in an auction. And I thought, you know what? There'll be great deals at auctions. I'll get a discount at auction. So I'm going to buy from an auction. I didn't even go to the auction. I bid on the telephone for this property. That's how confident I was in my strategy. And in the auction, this house was up for sale. And it was like guide price about £20,000. And the rental income was about £6,500 per annum. I was like, this is unbelievable. 30% return on investment. This is a no-brainer. This has got to work. And the house was actually split into 2 flats, okay? They weren't really flats, but one person lived upstairs, one person lived downstairs. I was like, this is amazing. So I looked at the brochure, looked at some pictures they sent me. They sent me a copy of the tenancy agreement so I could see there was 2 tenants. This was amazing. So I bid at the auction, and I got this property for, I can't remember, it was 21 or 22,000. Let's say it was 21. I think it maybe was 21,000. £21,000 I spent. And the income was going to be £6,500 a year. This is a dream. I wanted as many of these as I could get. So I bought this property in Chapeltown, and I lived about 70 miles away back then. I was in Scarborough. And I was like, this is amazing. And then I wrote to the tenants. I said, look, I've taken over. I'm the landlord. Can you start paying me the rent? No rent came in. I contacted the landlords again, the tenants again. I was like writing to them. I didn't have their phone numbers, of course, but I was writing saying, can you pay the rent? Still no rent comes in. So eventually it gets to one Sunday and I'm like, I'm going to have to drive over there. Now, I was busy in my job at the time, like many of you will be. So I'd made this investment decision, but I didn't have a lot of time because my job was going well. I was busy in the job. I'm like, this is a problem. I'm going to have to drive over there. So I drive over there and I actually had Adam, my son, in the car with me. And back then, he's 7 or 8 years old. I can't remember his exact age, but Adam, my son's in the car. And I pull up outside this property that I've bought in Chapeltown, Leeds. And I turn and look at the house, and there literally is bars going that way, and that way, on every window. It's barred to stop people breaking in. They've barred every single window. The street's got all sorts of ruffians at the street corner at the top. There's another set of ruffians at the street corner at the bottom. I don't like the look of this place. And I'm now going, do I get Adam out of the car and take him with me? Do I leave him locked in the car? What the heck do I do with him? I eventually make the decision to leave him locked in the car. So he's locked in the car. I get out. I go to the front door. And I'm knocking on the front door. I do have a set of keys, but I'm knocking on the front door. No one's answering. I'm ringing the bell that's broken for number 1, the bell that's broken for number 2. And eventually I go in. And what I find is the ground floor is totally empty. The carpets have been taken. They've disappeared probably long ago. And this is supposedly a rented property that I've got a tenant in. And there's some kind of drug-type paraphernalia kicking around. Look, it looks like that. I don't even know what drugs are. I'm 26, 27 years old. I don't know what drugs, but it looks like bad stuff. And I make my way upstairs. I'm shouting, hello, hello, hello. And I hear this voice shout back. I get upstairs and I walk into what is their lounge area, small area. And there are 6 big guys sat around, but they are so chilled it is unbelievable. I'm like, hi, who's the tenant? And it takes me about 3 minutes to get out of them. Yeah, man, that's me. That's me. And I'm like, great. So you must be Richard, right? Richard, I just need you to tell Housing Benefit to pay the rent to me. You know, I'm the new landlord. Can you do that? I just need you to go to Housing Benefit and tell them I'm the landlord. He's like, yeah, man. Tomorrow, man, yeah. And I'm like, this isn't going in. This guy's not, I'm doing all I can. And part of me's terrified because I've never been around drugs. They're stoned. So knowing what I know now, and I've still not been around drugs, but these guys are chilled. They're not going to attack me. But I don't know that. There's drug stuff everywhere. There's 6 big guys, and I'm trying to get him to pay me the rent. So he's like, yeah, man, I'll sort it tomorrow. I'm like, this is never going to happen. I go back downstairs, and all this time I'm nervous as heck for Adam outside. And I go into the back garden of the property, or the backyard, and the back wall is really, really high, 10 foot high, and has barbed wire across the top of it. I'm like, this is a horrendous place. So I leave as quick as I can. I've hopefully got this person to start paying me rent, which he of course doesn't do. He never gets down to the Housing Benefit to tell them to pay me. All he had to do was tell them. And I ring up a builder. I'm like, the downstairs is derelict. It's got some stuff around. I need you to go sort it out. So the builder goes down a few days later and he calls me. He says, Aaron, I'm not working there. He said, it's Beirut. If I park my van there, someone's going to steal the van. And that downstairs, it's full of needles. It's full of needles. I can't send my team in there. They are needles. I'll get infected. Well, they'll get infected. So I'm sat in Scarborough. I've bought this so-called amazing 30% ROI property, and it's derelict. Downstairs, upstairs is not paying me. Downstairs is empty, and no builder will work on it. And I'm stuck. I'm clueless what to do. It's costing me money every month. Luckily, my job's working well, and I can afford to pay for it. And you know, and by the way, this is one horror story. I can tell you some others if we had more time. What then happens is unbelievable. About 2-3 weeks later, I still don't know what to do. I'm wondering whether I need to send a gang down of big people to remove the top 10. I don't know what to do in this situation. I don't know again. And then I get a phone call. And the phone call's in the middle of the night. It's like Sunday morning, 2 a.m. And I answer the phone all groggy. And they say it's the fire brigade in Leeds. And I'm like, okay. And I'm trying to connect with Leeds in my head. You know, and they're like, we're at your property in Chapeltown. They've had a big drugs party and they've set it on fire. And your property is more or less burnt down. I'm like, wow. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I can't drive there and put it. They're like, don't worry, we put the fire out. It's more or less out, but your property's burnt down. This is where you are. And I'm like, clueless. I'm absolutely clueless. I don't know what to do. This is a disaster. This was meant to be a great investment. And I don't know what to do next. Now, I'm going to cut a long story short for you right now. What I ended up doing was putting the property back up for sale. I didn't even know what to do with it. I never wanted to go there again. And I never actually went there again. This is how ridiculous this story is. I never even went again. I got some photos of it being burnt down, but I never went again. I just thought, put it back in the auction. Even if they sell it for 3 grand, I might have lost 18, 20 grand, but I'm out of this. Just put it up for sale, get rid of it. So I put it back up for auction by total chance. This is not my expertise. The property market had gone up in value. The insurance company paid me out £6,000 for damages to the property, which is nowhere near what the damages were, but they paid me out £6,000. And the property sells in auction for £20,000. I bought it for 21 or 22, it sells for 20, and I get 6 for the insurance company. I end up with £26,000 back, and I got rid of my troublesome tenants, and I got rid of my house. Absolute madness. So I actually made a profit, okay? Do not go do that. That is not my teaching. That is not how to make a profit in property. My point is, you need to know what you're doing. If you're going to be an investor, you need to know what you're doing. If you pick a job strategy, you need to know what you're doing. You've got to buy the right houses. That was never, ever, ever the right house. So what I want to teach you now is what I call my 6 C's. My 6 C's are the golden rules to make sure you only ever buy world-class investment properties. And it took me till I bought 40 or 50 of these. Now, don't get me wrong, after my first 10, I committed to mastery. I started learning from experts and getting myself in the right place. And, my number 10 to 50, I was doing all right. By property 17, we were able to be financially free if we wanted to. We didn't know we need to work if we wanted to, etc. But I was still making mistakes. I was still buying the wrong houses, or they weren't performing anywhere near as they should. And it wasn't until I sat down and studied this in detail and really studied it that I came up with my 6 C's. And every house I've bought since, I've got over 200 in my portfolio, helped our clients to buy over 1,000, has to meet these rules. If it fails just one rule, it gets rejected. So what are the rules I hear you shouting? Well, here's rule number 1. Capacity. C for capacity. Okay, what do I mean by that? If you're buying, these are the rules, by the way, for family-let properties. In video 3, I taught you a number of different strategies, okay, and I chose you to choose one. If your strategy isn't family-let, you need to go find out these rules, learn these rules from a master. I can teach you them, but I'm not doing it on this video. But learn the rules to make sure you buy world-class properties in that strategy. I'm covering right now family-lets. So if we go for C for capacity, what do I mean by that? If you're going to get a family-let off the nose of buy-to-let, you need it to be a 3 or a 4 bedroom house. Not a flat, not an apartment, not a 2-bed. People say, why not? You get a 1-bedroom flat, somebody moves in it, then they fall in love with someone in that 1-bedroom flat, they move out and move in with them. Okay? That's now a problem for you. You've got an empty property again. You get a 2-bedroom house, somebody moves in with 1 child, they get pregnant, they now are having another child, they need a 3-bedroom house, they move out. And you end up with what I call transiency and transient properties. On average, a tenant change costs you £1,500. That's £1,500 each time the tenant changes. If you lose the tenant once a year, over 10 years, that's a £15,000 problem. If you've got 10 of those properties, that's a £150,000 problem you've now created for yourself. Okay? All because you bought the wrong houses. If you buy the right 3 and 4 bedroom houses that meet the rest of my rules in a moment as well, and you get someone who says, do you know what, I want to live here forever. My mum lives down the road, my uncle, my auntie live up the road, my kids are at the local school, I want to live here forever. You get what I call a lifer. They may not stay forever, but they're going to stay long term. When the door handle breaks, a lifer fixes the door handle. Yeah? When the property needs painting, a lifer rings you up and says, can I paint it? You buy them the paint, they paint it, they decorate it. They stay for life. You don't get that transiency. At the Insight Group, our average tenancy is over 5 years because we buy the right houses. Okay, so we're not paying that £1,500 each year. It's every 5 years or more. And they've done the repairs along the way, so we've saved money along the way as well. So you need to make sure you're buying 3 and 4 bedroom houses. What's the second C? The second C is C for city. What do I mean by city? Well, let me give you an example. And I'm going to give you a Yorkshire-based example. I used to live in Yorkshire. I'm in Wilmslow now, shooting this in Wilmslow in Cheshire. But I used to live in Yorkshire. And when I went out my front door, if I drove about 30 miles, I'd arrive in York. And whether you know York or not, you'll know it's a picturesque place, a cathedral and all that stuff. In York, for £150,000, you'll buy a 3-bedroom house, and it will rent for about £700 a month-ish. Okay? 3-bedroom house. If I went out my front door and went in another direction into Scarborough, North Yorkshire, with my £150,000 house money, I could buy 2 houses for £75,000 each. So I've spent the same amount of money, but I've got 2 properties now. 3-bedroom houses. And they rented out for £560 a month. So now I'm on £1120 a month income from my 2 properties, whereas in York, I'm on £700 a month from my property. Now, I know over time that properties go up the same. If York goes up 7% this year, next year, Scarborough's going to go up 6 to 8%. If York goes down 2% this year, next year, Scarborough will go down 1 to 3%. But over time, they go up the same. So if over time my investments are going to go up the same, I know what I'd rather have in the meantime. I'd rather have the 1120 of rent rather than the 700 of rent. I'm making an extra 420 a month, which is an extra £5,000 a year while I wait for it to go up. Now, by the way, I'm not telling you to buy properties in Scarborough. There are often, out of the 400 or so we'll buy for our clients this year alone, probably only 5 or 10 will be in Scarborough. There's even better places often to buy. The point I'm making is don't buy just because it's local. Buy for the best return on investment. Get the best town and city that's going to get you the best financial return, and wrap that with an expert team that looks after it so it's a true investment. So you don't have the job of looking after it. So we've got a 3 or 4 bedroom house and we're buying it in the right town or city. What are the next 2 C's? The next 2 are C for capital and C for cash flow. We want capital growth at the table and we want cash flow at the table. You need both. Over time, here is what happens. Early 2000s in the UK, house prices are going up. Okay? Let's say we're in London. House prices are going up. We get to about 2007, 2008. While these house prices are going up, by the way, rents are still going up, but they're going up more slowly. 2007-8, people say, it's too expensive to buy, I'm going to rent. So the house prices slow or even drop a bit. And the rents start going up really, really fast. We get to about 2012. People go, this is crazy. It's more expensive to rent than to buy. So the housing market starts slowing. In terms of rental increases, they're still increasing but slower, and the house price starts booming again, 2012. We get to about 2020, before coronavirus, the London market starts slowing, still going up, but people going, it's more expensive to buy than rent, I'm going to rent, and the rents have started rising, okay? The point I want you to get is over time, they're both going up, they're not crashing back down, they're both going up. As an investor, I don't care what's happening today. I care that long-term assets go up in value. That's important. But in time, I've either got my asset going up in value, I can refinance it, draw money out and buy more, or use it to have a fun time. But when the market's not going up in value, like at the moment with coronavirus, it's going to go down a bit, the rents are going up. Supply and demand, they have to either be buying or they're renting, so I make more cash flow profit. Either way, in every economy around the world, at all times, one or the other is going up. As an investor, I win either way. So if I'm in it for the long term, I know both are going to go up, and I win either way in the meantime. So that's the beauty of this. So how do you make sure you get great capital growth? On average in the UK, for the last 85 years, the property market has gone up on average at 7.9% per year. That's on average. That includes all the downturns, the drops, the falls, as well as the up periods. So if we can get national average, we're in an amazing place. So let's imagine we can't get national average. Let's imagine a model. If you're going to model more cautiously. Model at 4% or 5% to be cautious, okay? But we want to get the national average. How do you get the national average for capital growth? 5 core steps. Step 1, you buy in a town or a city. Minimum population, 80,000 people, okay? If you buy in a village and the local factory shuts down and 100 people lose their job, microeconomics kicks in, property market's not changing for the next 10 years, your money's stuck. So you want to buy in a town or a city, minimum population 80,000. Number 2, buy within 5 miles of the town or city centre. You can measure that by the town hall, the train station, I don't mind. Okay? If it's Manchester, Birmingham or London, it's within 7 miles, but otherwise it's within 5 miles always. Number 3, buy within 2 miles of a good or outstanding secondary school. So look at the Ofsted reports, it needs to be good or outstanding, you're within 2 miles and you're in the catchment area. Number 3, good public transport network. You know, in most towns or cities you've got that, bus, trams, trains, whatever it is, but you need to be within striking distance. Don't be the other side of the estate where it's 3/4 of a mile walk. Be within striking distance, good public transport network, and finally, good road network, which towns and cities have. If you meet those 5 rules, I can almost guarantee you'll get the national average as a minimum in terms of growth. And that national average isn't going to be great in the next 3-6 months, but if you learn the skill sets, I covered this in video 1, so that you start buying in 3 or 6 months' time, you're going to be buying at the right price point, then you're going to see the assets go up, and you're going to get great cash flow in the meantime. You might not get great cash flow in the next 3 months while we're all isolated, but once we're up and running again, great cash flow, great asset growth, okay? So that's how you get great capital growth. How do you get great cash flow? Very, very simple formula for you. When you're purchasing a property, let's say you're buying it for £100,000, you want the yield to be at least 7.2%. That means if you're buying it for £100,000, you want the rent to be at least £7,200 which per year, which is £600 a month. That's 7.2% of the 100k. At least £600 a month. If it's less rent than that for a £100,000 purchase, you run a mile. If it's that rent or more, you're happy to buy it. And then you do that pro rata. If it's a 200k property, it needs to be at least £1,200, etc. Now here's the thing. Here's the thing you need to consider. That's a very, very simple way of checking that out. If you want to check it out in a slightly more complex way, which is still really simple, you can take the rent that is coming in. So let's say the rent is $650 a month. You knock off the mortgage, you knock off the maintenance cost, you knock off the insurance cost. So in this example, let's say the mortgage was $300, the maintenance cost was £80 a month, and the insurance was $20. So I've got £400 of costs going out in total. $650 coming in, $400 going out. Okay? I've got $250 left. I've got to pay for my letting agent. My letting agent might be £70 a month. Let's say £80 a month. So if I take them off as well, I'm left with £170 a month. That doesn't sound like a lot, £170 a month, okay? But I'm going to be cautious with my mortgage rates. I'm going to be cautious with my refurbishment budget, cautious with my insurance. So that property might be making me about £300 a month, but I've modelled it cautiously, okay? And I'm covering it quickly now. I'll give you a lot more detail later on in this series. So if that property is making me £170 a month, and it was rented for 11 months of the year, let's say, at the end of the year, I'm going to have something like £1,800 in the bank, £1,900. If the property is empty in the 12th month, I've got enough money there to cover the rent for the 12th month. The $650 rent is covered by the profit I've made in the first 11. If you make sure every property you have meets that rule, so that the cash flow it generates, being cautious, times 11 is enough to cover month 12, I never have to put money in this deal again. Once I've bought the asset, it never costs me another penny ever again. How many of those assets would you like? Each month you pull the handle and cash comes out. It never costs you another penny again. You'd like as many as you can get. And then I'll teach you how to, once you've bought the house, get your money back out again to buy more with or go spend on a holiday and have fun with. Now you've got an asset that cost you nothing ultimately. You got your money back out and it makes you money every day for the rest of your life. This is what professional property investors do. This is what you can do if you follow these rules. Let's look at the 5th C. The 5th C is C for check. Most professional investors I know don't follow this C and they still make mistakes. The C for check means before you buy the house, check it will rent first. Check there's a demand for it. You run an advert on Zoopla, in the local paper to advertise the property you're thinking of buying. Of course, you can't show pictures of the very house because you don't own it yet, But you say, look, a 3-bedroom property, Nelson Street, double glazed, gas central heating, £650 a month. And you're checking how many phone calls you make. It's a numbers game. If within that first week you get 10 or more phone calls, people interested, you're going to go ahead and buy, as long as it meets all the other rules. If you get less than 10 phone calls, even if it's only 9, you might have the perfect 3-bedroom house in the right city, right cash flow, right capital growth, but you only get 9 calls. You're walking away. You're deselecting this property. It has to meet every single C fully, or you don't buy, because there'll be another house on the next town, the next street, that meets all the rules plus this one. So if you get just 9 calls, you're walking away. Here's what used to happen when I first bought properties. I used to buy a house, 5 people would call me interested, 3 people would view it, 1 person would want it. And I used to celebrate. I'd be like, I've got a tenant. In reality, they were the only human being out of 7 billion on the planet that wanted my miserable house. That's how rubbish my house was. Whereas if you run an advert and 20 people are interested, and 10 people view it and 5 people want it, same ratios, 5 people want it, now you can ask for bank statements, references, guarantors, the works. If that puts 1 or 2 of them off, fine, there's still 3 or 4 that want it. Now you're choosing the tenant, they are not choosing you. If that tenant then stops paying the rent or starts trashing your property, you'll deal with them ethically, but if they don't get caught up, you'll get them out. And you'll be totally confident you can re-let it. In my early days, I was scared to get them out. They weren't paying me, they were trashing my property, but I knew if I got them out, I might not get another one. So I stuck with the devil I knew instead of changing it. You've got to have good demand for your property, otherwise you should never buy it. Never buy it. Final piece, the 6th C, contingency. Do not invest in property and put every single penny you've got in the deal and leave yourself with nothing left. What if the boiler breaks? What if there's a problem? So in family-let properties, whatever you're going to invest, keep 4.5% of it as a protection buffer. So if you're going to invest £100,000, you put 95,500 down and 4,500 stays in your rainy day bank account to protect the investment. If you're going to invest £50,000, it's still 4.5%. So 47,750 gets invested and 2,250 gets put in the rainy day bank account. You keep 4.5. If it's $1 million, you keep 45,500 to one side, and you put the other 955,000 in. You make sure you're keeping 4.5% to one side to protect your investment. Then you've got your investment up and running. It's making you cash flow profit every month on top. Let's say you've got 3, giving you £200 a month each. It's going up £600 a month every month. Eventually, if a boiler breaks, you've got plenty there to pay for it, and this pot gets bigger and bigger, and then you can buy some more properties. And the properties go up in value, and you can release money from them, and you can buy some more properties. And then you get number 4. You haven't put any of your own money in now. Those 3 have paid for the 4th. Then the 4 go up in value, and they make you all profit, and even faster you get number 5. And they go up, and even faster you get number 6, because you bought to the right rules. Because you bought to the right rules. So these 6 C's are absolutely business critical. These 6 C's at the Insight Group, when we're investing, we will look at properties that come in with a 15% genuine market discount. And most investors would jump at that. Great, they've got a discount. Because of the other C's, we reject 59 out of 60 of those properties that other people would buy. We say, no, not good enough. And that's how rigorous I want you to be. Now, does this take some effort? Yeah. Does this take some time? Yeah. But you're only going to buy 8, 9, 10 of these babies. So you may as well buy the best ones and get them in your portfolio. And if you learn these skills over the next 2-3 months, so you lock this stuff down and get this stuff in your locker, then when the market is there, that people need your help, they need to sell, the builders need to sell, the people getting divorced or splitting up need to sell, the people who find out, when they need your help, you'll have the skill set to help them and to build that financial fortress for yourself.
Welcome back. You now know my 6 golden rules to buy world-class properties, houses that quadruple your profits because they rent like hotcakes and they grab hold of an overlooked property trend. You also know why buying the right property will attract lifer tenants that are going to look after your property like it was their own. So buying the right houses makes your portfolio 4 times more money in your pocket with less hassle. Who like that? I definitely like that. So we've come a long way together in this video series. And we've still got a long way to go if I'm going to show you precisely how you can make 2021 the year when you build a financial fortress that protects your family for generations. That's why I'd like to invite you to a live webinar that I'm running on Wednesday night, this Wednesday night. How to make 2021 the year you build a financial fortress that protects your family for generations. Write that down. How to make 2021 the year you build a financial fortress that protects your family for generations. Now, here's just a taste of what I'll be covering on Wednesday night. I'll be showing you how to create a vision of your property success that puts a smile on your face every time you look at it, and what you must do so it motivates you to take action. Remember in video 1, I said it's learning times action to get results. So I'll teach you that. Secondly, I'll show you how to build your property dreams with other people's money. You might have plenty of money and not need that piece. You might have some money. You can buy 2 or 3 houses, but that won't get you financially free. You'll love this piece. Or you might be starting out with very little money. You'll love this piece. Everybody loves this piece. None of us have an infinite pot. Plus, I'll give you a 99p tool that I use to raise £100,000 in private finance, and you can do the same. Thirdly, I'll teach you the golden rules to buy world-class properties, houses that quadruple your profits because they rent like hotcakes and grab hold of an overlooked trend. To join me live on Wednesday night's webinar, the link is below this video or somewhere around this video. Go click on that link right now. I want to help you. I want to help you have the most outstanding year ahead of you, and I want to help you achieve that vision, that goal. Many of you have emailed and shared with me your visions and goals. Come on this webinar and I'll show you exactly what you need to do to make that dream a reality. Thank you for watching this video today. Thank you for watching this video series and giving me your time. I appreciate it. I value it. And I value you. I want to give as much value as I can. I'm sure you've got loads of value from these, but I want to give you that next step. So join me live on the webinar on Wednesday. Look forward to seeing you there in person. Until then, look after yourself, look after the people you love, and invest with knowledge, invest with confidence, create financial freedom. I'll see you really, really soon. Don't miss it. Thank you.